I, World War II was going on when I was growing up. And so I lived a sort of, people lived as best they could. I mean, you found yourself living in hotels when you didn't have any idea that you would ever live in a hotel. I loved living in a hotel. That was when the war first started, and my father was sent to California, and we followed him out there. And then he realized that it was going to be a long war, so he sent us back home and to Tennessee. And but then I later in life, my mother was ill. She had a mental breakdown, and the war didn't help that at all, nor did she ever recover really from it. But my father, in the meantime, decided that he must marry again. And there was only my brother and myself, and during the war I had lived with two aunts in and a grandmother in Nashville, Tennessee, where I was born. Anyway, my father met this, after he found that my mother could not recover, he was stationed in Texas, and he met this wonderful woman whom he married us into Texas. And I was, by then the war was being slowly ending, and we all moved to a little town in Texas. And I had the opportunity then to grow up in a lot of different ways. And it makes you very curious. And it makes you, I think children are curious anyway, but suddenly at age 12 I was living in Texas with a wonderful second mother who had an enormous family that lived all over Texas, and it was in a little town, and my father, I think, was in part chose to live there because that's where my second mother lived and was in business, and he took over the business, and then we began to meet all these Texans from different parts of the state. She had a big family, and they were very kind to us. But all of this plays into becoming a writer, because you're terribly curious about all these people, and your life has been dramatically changing while you're growing up. And this can be true of anybody. I mean, you can have, it just seems like a sort of boring, normal life, but wars happen. And I was fortunate in that I had wonderful aunts that I had been living with in Nashville. One was a newspaper reporter, the other was a teacher, and my grandmother, we all lived in her house, and she was ill with Parkinson's, and there was a nurse that lived with us. This was at a time when you could afford to have someone like that live in the same house with you, and she looked after my grandmother. So here, the whole incredible number of people that I knew from an early age and had many questions about, and had all kinds of ways. I mean, we would be taken to different parts of Texas and meet different parts of the family. Some of them were ranchers. An aunt and uncle lived in Galveston. What a wonderful thing to be able to go to Galveston in the good old bad old days. And I had gone down there with a cowboy cousin, and I used a lot of that experience in the book. But you know, all this goes to, and part of it is trying to make sense of your own life. Any writer is involved in that, I think you will find, no matter how ordinary it may seem to be. You needn't have had a dramatic childhood as I did, but there are other people that have had dramatic childhoods, and you can always borrow those. Think of the people you knew when you were in high school with, and how many of them have changed, and in what ways did they change. And so all that growth and change is part of story writing.